Please join our YouTube community and subscribe today.
Zhang Yi decided to communicate with the people at the Yangqing base in the living room. Yang Xinxin opened her notebook, sent a call request through that network address. Zhang Yi sneered, "Hi, I'm Zhang Yi." There was a moment of silence over there. Wait a moment. The call continued, and not long after, a cold woman's voice appeared again. "You are Zhang Yi? The leader of the organizations around Shujia Town and Yunk Manor?" Zhang Yi asked, "Who are you?" I'm the leader of the shelter organization in Yangqing District Xiao Honglian. The person I sent to Hongyuan Materials Factory was killed by you, right? Satellite phones have been discovered, and there is no need to deny it. Zhang Yi did not deny it. He just asked back, "Is it your people who arrested people from Shujia Town yesterday?" Xiao Honglian, then you admit it? Zhang Yi, in other words, you really did it? Neither of them directly answered the other's question. "Those who dare to kill me, you are so brave. No one in Tianhai City dares to attack my Yangqing base. Zhang Yi, you already have the means to die." Zhang Yi just smiled disdainfully. This sentence sounds familiar. The last person who said this to me has turned into ashes. Oh, by the way, you may have heard his name before. His name is Qin Xinyan. Do you think I'm a 3-year-old child? The Xishan base was destroyed because of that missile. You are too arrogant to take all the achievements on yourself. Zhang Yi sneered, "Then why don't you think about it? Why did a missile attack the Xishan base?" Xiao Honglian's tone stagnated, and his expression became more and more serious. "Just because you are a warehouse supervisor?" Zhang Yi said lightly, "Don't bother to try again. Do you think I will tell you? I just hope that you can recognize the reality in the future, and obediently get the hell out of here. If I can kill one batch of your men, I can kill the second batch." Having said that, he glanced at Liang Yu, who was full of anxiety. "And the few students you took away were sent to me honestly. Otherwise, I won't spare you." Zhang Yi's words directly angered Xiao Honglian. Zhang Yi's threat made her slap the table directly. Insanity. Destroy us? Do you have the strength? I don't believe that you really have the ability to mobilize missiles. If you were really that powerful, the entire Tianhai City would have been your territory long ago. Believe it or not, I'll chop up all those students right now and send their bodies back to you. Liang Yu on the side heard it with his heart in his throat, and frantically gave Zhang Yi hints with his eyes. Zhang Yi also showed a stern expression, and said in a deep voice, "Don't do such a stupid thing. Those poor guys are of no value to us. It won't affect us if you kill them." Xiao Honglian sneered. "But it doesn't sound like it. I think you seem a little nervous about their life and death. It looks like I really got a good deck of cards." Zhang Yi said, "Those students are very important to my friends, but they have no effect on you. Well, let's talk. How can you let them go?" The smile on the corner of Xiao Honglian's mouth became more and more intense. I haven't thought about it yet. Let me think about it." Xiao Honglian put her 2 long legs on the mahogany table, and began to think about how to negotiate the price with Zhang Yi. "Zhang Yi, you killed my cousin and his soldiers. Now your people are in my hands again. If you want someone, exchange it with the supplies in your hand. I know that all the materials in the South China warehouse were in your hands. I don't want much, half. If you give me half of the supplies, I will return them to you, and the matter of killing my cousin can be written off. From then on, we will not violate the river. How about it?" Xiao Honglian's eyes were playful. Faced with this kind of lion's big mouth, Zhang Yi directly refused. "Impossible. You don't even have to think about it." Xiao Hong said coldly, "If you don't agree, then the only way is war. What's more, as far as I know, you killed not only our Yangqing base, but also people from Chaoyu base. I can join forces with Chaoyu base to attack you. At that time, do you think you have the strength to contend against the coalition forces of the 2 bases?" Zhang Yi's tone was very calm. So you think so? But I want to tell you, you don't know anything about our strength. If you really intend to come to die, then come here. I will kill every piece of you and smash your ridiculous arrogance. Zhang Yi changed the subject, but you don't need to target those students, they are useless. I hope you can return them to me. The more Zhang Yi said that, the more suspicious Xiao Honglian became. Do those students really matter? Unless you accept my conditions, this matter is out of the question. Zhang Yi, don't go too far. Those students are students of women I cherish very much. You are not allowed to hurt them. If you dare to torture them and make them suffer, I will definitely make you pay a heavy price. Kill, 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 you can kill those students quickly. Do you know how troublesome it is for me to act? The more you say that, I won't let them go. And I will torture them severely, so that they cannot live or die. Xiao Honglian cut off the call. And judging from her final tone, she will definitely torture Wu Qingyu and other students. Zhang Yi slapped the table angrily. It's so deceiving. What do you have to do to me? Don't vent your anger on those innocent students. After saying that, he stood up. We can't be so passive anymore. Now we set off immediately, go to Yangqing base to save people. He looked at Fatty Su, Uncle Yu and the others. This time going to Yangqing base is not like the attack on Xishan base last time. The right time, place and people are not on our side. So don't go there. This matter has nothing to do with you, and I don't want you to be involved. Everyone present was shocked when they heard what Zhang Yi said. Only a few people who knew Zhang Yi better felt that it was a bit weird. So a group of people hurried over to stop Zhang Yi. Zhang Yi, don't be impulsive. Not only can you not save people in the past, you may even get involved yourself. That is a force that is not weaker than the Xishan base. And they are on guard, you will only die if you go there. Fatty Su said in a voice that only the two of them could hear, Boss, it's almost done, let's pass the show again. Zhang Yi pretended to struggle a few times, then sighed in vain. They deceived people too much. They didn't take us seriously at all. They even took Liang Yu's students under our noses. He slammed his fist hard on the sofa. I promised Liang Yu that I would help her take care of these students. Liang Yu looked at Zhang Yi, who was desperate for her, and was deeply moved. She walked over and placed her right hand lightly on Zhang Yi's shoulder. Zhang Yi, don't be impulsive. This matter is not your problem. You can only blame me for not protecting them well. You have tried your best, thank you for being willing to help me. But this matter has nothing to do with you, and I don't want to drag you down. There was a faint smile on the corner of Liang Yu's mouth, but Zhang Yi felt something was wrong with her expression. Liang Yu, what do you want to do? To find a home for my own soul. Liang Yu smiled calmly. After Liang Yu left, Zhou Kur said a little worriedly, Liang Yu, doesn't she want to save people by herself? Zhang Yi touched his chin, and said puzzledly, didn't I impress her just now? Fatty Su chuckled, leaned over meanly and said, Boss, your acting skills are really good, but it looks too fake. Fatty Su sighed, but the key is, who would believe such righteous words from your mouth? Zhang Yi glanced around, and everyone nodded silently. Zhang Yi spread his hands speechlessly, well, at least I also express my support for her. Uncle Yu said, I can't blame you for this matter. Among all of us, except Liang Yu, none of us has anything to do with those students. And they don't know how to support themselves, they are all a bunch of slackers. Keeping them will not help, but will cause trouble. Zhang Yi sat on the sofa, propped his chin with both hands and said, anyway, everyone knows that we are very likely to face a war. All defensive measures were prepared a few days ago, and there is no need to be particularly alarmed. The attitude of Xiao Honglian just now was very arrogant, and it can be seen that they don't have a clear understanding of our strength. Lu Karen looked at the direction of Liang Yu's departure, but said worriedly, but what about teacher Liang? Zhang Yi said to her and Yang Xinxin, you two go over and persuade her. Don't let her do stupid things. There was a knock on the door outside. Liang Yu didn't close the door, she turned her head and saw that it was Lu Karen pushing Yang Xinxin over. Mr. Liang, are you okay? Yang Xinxin asked. Liang Yu took a deep breath, I'm fine, I just suddenly figured it out and knew what I should do. Yang Xinxin understood Liang Yu very well, so she said, you can die for them, why can't you live for me and Karen? Teacher Liang, we need you. Yang Xinxin held Liang Yu's hand eagerly, her eyes full of pleading. Lu Karen also hurriedly said, Teacher Liang, we cannot do without you. Think about it, Xinxin and I are ordinary people without supernatural powers. In case of any danger in the future, we need your protection. Liang Yu's heart was shaken even more. But I can't just watch other people die. Yang Xinxin said, aren't they still alive now? If they can live, all the value is on you. So you can't die. Next, we still have room to discuss with the Anqing base. Just wait a little longer. She sighed lightly, well, it can only be like this now. After securing Liang Yu, Lu Karen pushed Yang Xinxin out of her room. After going out, all the expressions on Yang Xinxin's face disappeared in an instant. Xinxin, brother, does he really like Teacher Liang? Lu Karen leaned into Yang Xinxin's ear and asked gossipingly. Fake, I just lied to her. A playful smile rose from the corner of Yang Xinxin's mouth. The thing that an old girl like Teacher Liang can't deal with most is feelings. As long as she knows that someone likes her, her heart will be messed up. If you don't look like this, how can you persuade her to stay? Lu Karen's eyes widened. Good guy, you're playing tricks with Mr. Liang here. Yang Xinxin said disapprovingly, I'm doing it for her own good. This silly woman will die if she disagrees with her. After pausing for a moment, she said in a deeper tone, but if she can stay in the shelter, it will definitely be a good thing for you and me. Brother Zhang Yi, he doesn't know how to support idlers. These words made Lu Karen's heart tremble. Then make yourself more useful. Liang Yu, a powerful alien, is a good helper. I understand, thank you for your hard work. Zhang Yi smiled and said to the two girls. It's time for the medicine to take effect. Yangqing base. After Xiao Honglian ended the call with Zhang Yi, the smile on the corner of his mouth became more and more intense. According to those students, there are several other people under Zhang Yi's subordinates. If they are all sent to my subordinates, the strength of the entire Yangqing base will be greatly enhanced. Zhuge Qingting congratulated from the side. According to the current situation, it's only a matter of time before they compromise. I think we must take action as soon as possible to take down Zhang Yi's power. If it is later, maybe other organizations will also take action. Xiao Honglian waved her hand. Don't worry. She said cautiously, it's better to investigate first before deciding when to make a move. You know, there are more than one enemy around us. Once we invest our troops to attack Zhang Yi's shelter, the other three may attack our headquarters. They all want our refinery. Zhuge Qingting said, but the opportunity is fleeting. If you miss it, maybe someone else will come and share this piece of fat. Xiao Honglian glanced at him. I'd rather do nothing than make mistakes. Everyone in the Yangqing base now cares about it. If we make any mistakes, we will all die. Zhuge Qingting quickly bowed his head and said, yes, I will follow your order. Then what shall we do next? Xiao Honglian put his hands behind his back, with a confident expression on his face. Since Zhang Yi cares so much about those students, let's add fire to his heart. Send someone to teach them a good lesson, and then take a video and send it to Zhang Yi. In addition, focus on collecting information about everything around Zhang Yi. We have to figure out their specific defense forces before we can act. Zhuge Qingting nodded, yes, leader. After Zhuge Qingting came to the dungeon, there was a cruel smile on the corner of his mouth. It's time to treat our guests well. Zhuge Qingting did it himself and tortured them. And this time the main purpose is to show Zhang Yi, break Zhang Yi's heart, and facilitate subsequent negotiations. A student suddenly fell to the ground, the corners of his mouth twitched non-stop, and a large amount of white foam spit out from his mouth. Huh? What's going on? The student was lying on the ground. Poisoned. How did they get poisoned? Zhuge Qingting's eyes were full of puzzlement. Zhuge Qingting's scalp felt a little numb. He hurriedly took out the communicator and reported the incident to Xiao Honglian. What? Poisoned? Xiao Honglian frowned slightly. These students are still useful to her, they can't just die like this. Is there any salvation? Then he made a conclusion to Zhuge Qingting. The toxins in these people's bodies have been deposited for a long time, and someone gave them chronic poison. In the past, with good medical conditions, a life could be saved. But now I can't save them. Thinking of this, Zhuge Qingting's pupils suddenly shrank. Oops, hit the jackpot. Now it's really become someone else's knife. Zhuge Qingting told her his guess. These people were poisoned with chronic poison, and then they were deliberately placed in Shujia town, using satellite phones on the plateau as bait to lure us over. Although I don't know what the other party's purpose is, all of this was planned by others. After Xiao Honglian finished listening, her eyes sharpened. But what are they doing this for? Using a group of poison waste to count us? It doesn't affect us. Or is it that Zhang Yi and his own people want to kill these students, but it is not convenient to do it themselves? But Xiao Honglian followed the principle of waste utilization and said, before they die, record a video and send it to Zhang Yi. If the poison on these people was not poisoned by him, then take the opportunity to scoop up a wave of wool. This side of the shelter. Yang Xinxin called Zhang Yi to the control room. This time it's a video call. What appeared in front of him was not Xiao Honglian, the leader of the Yangsheng base, but a tall, thin, long-haired man with stern eyes. Zhang Yi, 1 day has passed. I don't know how you are thinking. Contacting you today is to give you a gift to help you make a decision as soon as possible. Zhang Yi calmly asked, are they all still alive? Zhuge Qingting said in a deep voice, they are still alive now, but how long they can last is hard to say. Zhang Yi, the leader of my family, has changed his mind. Keeping these useless people will only waste rice, so I'd better give it back to you. Facing the opponent's lion, Zhang Yi opened his mouth wide. It's not impossible. It's just that I have to confirm that those people are still alive. Otherwise, I handed over the supplies to you, but only got back a bunch of corpses. Wouldn't it be too? Zhuge Qingting's eyes darkened. You have seen people, they are still alive and well. This is just a video, I want to see the living people. Now, take me there to see them. Zhang Yi narrowed his eyes, his voice was undeniably tough. Just let me confirm that they are all alive, and I will arrange food for you immediately. Zhuge Qingting stared at Zhang Yi on the opposite side of the screen, and said quietly, Yangsheng base will not play silly tricks. It is useless for us to kill these people, how could we kill them? Your worries are unnecessary. Zhang Yi spread his hands, in that case, why not let me take a look? Mr. Zhang, I don't feel the slightest sincerity from you. Zhuge Qingting wanted to say something else, but Zhang Yi reached out and pressed the button to end the call. He leaned back on the chair and said to Yang Xinxin next to him, they are already dead. Zhuge Qingting's actions prove this point. Yang Xinxin asked curiously, brother, how did you do it? Zhang Yi said calmly, I added some technology and hard work to their food. Yang Xinxin breathed a sigh of relief, and she showed a sunny smile, that's great. Now, everyone will not be dragged down. Zhang Yi patted her head, these 2 days, do a good job of psychological training for Liang Yu. Don't let this silly woman get overwhelmed. Yang Xinxin tilted her head, and looked at Zhang Yi playfully, actually, brother, you can do it yourself better than me. Zhang Yi raised his eyebrows, you mean you want me to enlighten her? Yang Xinxin said with a smile, this will definitely be very useful. You need to use an emotional knife to kill people. Zhang Yi just replied humorously, but I am worried that the next generation will become stupid. By the way, remember to keep this call confidential, and no one is allowed to tell it. Yang Xinxin nodded, don't worry, I know very well. In the next few days, the shelter remained as quiet and peaceful as usual. Zhuge Qingting found Xiao Honglian helplessly and reported the matter to her. Now that everyone is dead, we have lost the bargaining chip to blackmail Zhang Yi. She raised her head slowly, staring at Zhuge Qingting with beautiful and menacing eyes. Then there is no other option but war. 2 days later, Zhang Yi received another message from Yangsheng base, this time not a call request, but a video. After opening the video, a depressing scene appeared in front of my eyes. The background is a large factory iron frame in the snow. There are more than a dozen cold human heads suspended by ropes. Xiao Honglian stood in front of the execution platform, staring at the camera with indifferent eyes, and said coldly, "Blood for blood, tooth for tooth. Zhang Yi, this is just the beginning. Soon I will let you and your friends' heads hang on the execution platform of Yangqing Base." The video ends here. After watching this video, Zhang Yi was silent for a moment, and then took a sip of the hot coffee at hand. It's finally dead, and it's considered clean. Yang Xinxin sighed lightly, it's still the same ending. Zhang Yi looked at her and asked with a smile, "Didn't you hate these people the most before? Are you unhappy now that they are dead?" Yang Xinxin shook her head. "I can't talk about being happy or sad. I really hate them, and I wish they would disappear from this world as soon as possible. It's just, I really feel a little sad when I really see that they are all dead." She lowered her head, her pale little hands clenched tightly together. "I am very worried that one day in the future, my head will be hung up." A look of astonishment flashed in Zhang Yi's eyes. But soon he understood. No matter how smart and dark-bellied Yang Xinxin is, she is only an 18-year-old girl after all. Zhang Yi leaned over and hugged her with his strong arms. "Don't worry, I'm here. Brother won't let Xinxin die. Because I won't die, so you must be able to live well." She put her hands on Zhang Yi's back, and her eyes slowly moistened. "Brother, it's great to have you here. Xinxin will definitely not hold you back and become a person who is useful to you." Zhang Yi decided to make this video public for everyone. But seeing this scene, Teacher Liang might collapse. Yang Xinxin reminded Zhang Yi, "You need to be mentally prepared." Zhang Yi took out a small bag of medicine from his pocket and handed it to Yang Xinxin. "Put this in the coffee and let Liang Yu drink it." Yang Xinxin took it suspiciously and asked, "What is this?" "A drug that calms the mind," Zhang Yi said. Yang Xinxin did as Zhang Yi ordered. Before watching this video, he did not forget to remind everyone, the content of this video may be a bit cruel. I hope everyone can be mentally prepared and not get too excited. When she heard what Zhang Yi said, Liang Yu felt something was wrong in her heart. Because the video was sent by Yangqing Base. So, it's about her students? Zhang Yi took a deep look at Liang Yu, and then opened the video. As a result, there were more than a dozen heads hanging high on the screen. The first time Liang Yu saw it, she felt that something exploded in her head, and her brain went blank. Her students, all died. For a moment, the world in front of Liang Yu turned upside down. She swayed a few times unsteadily, and other people's voices could be faintly heard in her ears. "Teacher Liang, what's wrong with you? Are you okay?" Then her eyes went black and she collapsed to the ground. Lu Karen was nervous. "Teacher Liang, are you okay?" Zhang Yi walked over slowly and said calmly, "It's okay. Just let her take some sedative drugs. Rest for a while and you'll be fine." Uncle Yu couldn't help but shook his head and sighed. Ms. Liang is a good teacher who is dedicated to her duties. This matter is a big blow to her. I hope she can see it more clearly and don't get into a corner. Time heals the pain, and so does love. Zhang Yi helped Liang Yu up, carried her to her room, and put her on the bed. He said to Yang Xinxin and Lu Karen, "Take good care of her these 2 days, and help her resolve her emotions." He said to Zhou Kou again, "Give her a sedative to stabilize her mood. If it really doesn't work, increase the dose. I'd rather let her lie on the bed for a few more days than let her mess around." Zhou Kou nodded, understood. After Liang Yu was settled, everyone returned to the living room. Immediately afterwards, Zhang Yi began to discuss with everyone about the battle. The battle with Yangqing Base is inevitable. Maybe Chaoyu Base will come with them. If you have to face 2 major bases at the same time, the defensive pressure will not be small. According to the original plan, rely on the first line of defense to fight, and wait until the first line of defense is breached before retreating to the shelter. A few days later, an old man in a white cloak appeared from the distant white snow, and walked towards the shelter step by step. He is a cleric of the snow worship cult, Grand Decree Zhao Jianhua. Braving the wind and snow, he arrived not far from the shelter step by step. Through a thick barrier of ice and snow, he looked up at the black shelter standing in the wind and snow. He stood upright, a golden splendor flashed in those vicissitudes of gray eyes. And in his eyes, the whole world changed color. In his eyes, there was an incomparably vast aura hovering over the shelter. Its momentum was so great that it even covered the entire sky above the shelter. Besides that one, there are such powerful aliens in the world. Could it be that he is the right hand of the god? Zhao Jianhua, the great decree of Shuejiao. Ability, look forward to gas. He could see the breath of everyone. He can see gifted aliens and unawakened. It can be said that the rapid expansion of the current snow worship cult has something to do with his ability. He took a deep breath and walked back step by step on crutches. For such an important discovery, he had to report to the leader and the high priest. Not long after, the deputy Zhuge Qingting brought her someone. It was a middle-aged man with a strong figure and a fierce face. Meet the leader, my name is Wu Huiren. I used to be the manager of Zhanlong Security Company. I participated in the shelter project in Yunk Manor back then. And that man named Zhang Yi was also handled by me, and I built a safe house for him. When Xiao Honglian heard what Wu Huiren said, he asked curiously, "Are you familiar with that Zhang Yi?" Wu Huiren said, "I'm not familiar with it, it's just a simple relationship between the employer and the company. However, I am familiar with the place where he currently lives." Xiao Honglian didn't know much about Yunk Manor 101. "Oh, what's different?" Wu Huiren explained the situation of the shelter to her in detail. After listening, Xiao Honglian suddenly realized, no wonder, they were able to block the attack of the Shishan base for more than a month, but they were safe and sound. It turned out to be the shelter you built. That makes sense. Wu Huiren said, the Shishan base has no way to take that shelter, but our Yanqing base can break it. Leader, please leave this matter to me. Xiao Honglian looked at him. Do you know where the weak point of that shelter is? Wu Huiren said, as the leading domestic brand, Zhanlong Security Company cannot tamper with the client's house. But since we built the house, we have a good understanding of the structure and materials of the house. As long as you can touch the house, and with our large work truck, you can completely cut the wall. Xiao Honglian nodded, okay, you can go with us in this operation. As long as things are done well, I will promote you to lead a team later. Wu Huiren's face showed excitement when he heard this. Thank you for the leader's cultivation. However, I still have a problem that I can't figure out. Xiao Honglian held his cheek with one hand, a trace of doubt appeared on his face. No matter how strong the shelter is and how special the materials used are, the gap can still be opened with professional tools. In this case, the Shishan base can be destroyed even with explosives. Why didn't they do it? Could it be that Zhang Yi and his partners are so powerful that it is difficult for Shishan base to get close to them? After thinking alone for a long time, she slowly made up her mind. If there is a real risk, I can't let my Yanqing base family bear it. We must drag the other forces into the water. In this way, not only can the risk be shared, but it can also prevent them from sneaking into the base while I am operating. Xiao Honglian found her old friend, Wei Dinghai, the leader of Chaoyu base. After the call was connected, Xiao Honglian directly explained the purpose. That guy named Zhang Yi is not simple. He was able to compete with the Shishan base for so long at the beginning, and finally the Shishan base was destroyed. I suspect that it has something to do with them. Neither of our two families dare to deal with them alone. Otherwise, we should cooperate. What do you think? Wei Dinghai just smiled. I'm afraid it's not enough for our two families to fight. If you want to fight, then drag everyone into the water. The smile on Xiao Honglian's face became brighter and brighter. We both want to go somewhere. Xiao Honglian said, as long as the two of us work together, it will be easy to persuade them to follow suit. I'll go to the Qingpu base and say, I'll leave it to you to worship Shuejiao. No problem, right? Wei Dinghai chuckled, it's easy to say. We operate at sea all year round, and those things have no effect on us. It's just that we take more of the food in the warehouse. Also, I hope you can supply more fuel by then. After some bargaining between the leaders of the two forces, a consensus was reached. Qingpu District is located in the northwest of Tianhai City. A man can be seen on the assembly line of any factory in Tianhai City. He is ordinary and not outstanding. At this time, he had one leg on the lathe, pinched a steamed bun in his hand, and threw it on the ground piece by piece. Two dogs are lying on the ground. If you look closely, there are two people. A skinny Mediterranean, a long-haired four-eyed dog. Every time the man threw down a piece of steamed bun, they would quickly lie on the ground and fight for it, and even fought together salivating. A few people came behind the man who was feeding, glanced at the funny scene on the ground, and smiled uncontrollably on their faces. "Boss, the girls from Yangqing base are looking for you." The man who was feeding the dog raised his head when he heard this. "Oh, that bitch Xiao Honglian is looking for me? Why is she looking for me?" Subordinate Hui reported, "It is said that there is a very important matter to discuss with you. As for the specific content, we are not qualified to know." Xing Tian, the boss of Qingpu base, jumped off the lathe. "Okay, let's go and see what she's up to." With his hands in his pockets, Xing Tian walked out of the workshop slowly. At the door of the office, a girl in a small combat uniform squatted there, holding a wooden stick in her hand to write and draw on the snow. Squatting in front of her was a huge snow-white wolfhound. Its size was more than 10 times the size of ordinary dogs, and it was about the same size as the gigantic Huahua. But at this moment, the giant dog was obediently lying on the snow, watching the girl writing, with a low-browed and pleasing appearance without a trace of fierceness. Seeing Xing Tian approaching, the big dog raised his neck and let out a wow. The little girl on the snow also raised her head, and when she saw Xing Tian, a sweet smile appeared on her white and round face. "Father!" Xing Tian smiled and strode over, hugged the little girl. "Didn't I tell you? Don't come out if you have nothing to do, it's too cold outside. If you really want to come out, put on your hat and scarf." Zhou Lingling smiled sweetly and said, "It won't be very cold. It's very warm inside the steel factory." Xing Tian pinched her little face. "When the time comes, I'll catch a cold for you, and you will suffer the old crime." He put Zhou Lingling in front of the big dog. "You play with Lele for a while, Daddy goes over to do some errands, and will come over to accompany you later." Zhou Lingling nodded obediently, then continued to squat down. "Lele, this is 1, this is 2. The big dog Lele lowered his eyebrows and looked embarrassed. Xing Tian came in loudly, and the communication personnel were waiting for him here. "Boss, I have been waiting for you for a long time." Xing Tian walked over and sat on the sofa seat. "She asked me to do something, what's wrong with telling her to wait?" Even so, he reached out and pressed the connect button. Xiao Honglian then straightforwardly told him his purpose. "The Xishan base has been wiped out. What do you think about the Qingpu base?" Xing Tian sucked his teeth and said casually, "The northeast of Xishan Mountain borders us. I don't think you are interested there. Anyway, their territory is so big, no one can take it for a while. So why don't you discuss how to divide it up?" Xiao Hong smiled. "That's easy to say. But now there is still a problem in front of us. On the original site of Xishan base, there is still a very powerful force entrenched. If you don't clean it up, all of us will be at risk in the past. My people and Wei Dinghai's people were all killed by him." Hearing these words, Xing Tian couldn't help but froze his eyes. Tianhai City really has such amazing people. Not only can you bite off a piece of meat in the mouth of the Xishan base, but you dare to attack your two bases at the same time? Xiao Honglian nodded. "It is true that there are such awesome people. We have investigated, and they are not a big force like us, but a relatively small but elite team. There are many strangers in it, and they are very powerful. They are leaning against a shelter comparable to a military fortress, and even the Xishan base can't do anything to them." He cautiously said to Xiao Honglian, "If they are strong enough, we can't rush to attack. You have to understand that if you travel long distances to fight in an area that is not your own territory, you will lose 30% of your strength first. Xiao Honglian persuaded, so this time we invite you to attack them together. Our Yanqing base and Chaoyu base have already made an appointment, and we will launch an attack together if you nod. When the time comes, the three of us will reach an agreement, and those who worship the Snow Sect must also send troops. The four families join forces, and after taking them down, they will carve up the entire Xishan district and Lujiang district. What do you think? Xing Tian felt a little relieved when he heard that the four families joined forces to attack. Back then, it was the faction you were talking about that caused the uproar with the Xishan base, right? The armed forces of the Xishan base are so powerful, but they can't break through their defenses. Can we do it? Xiao Honglian knew that Xing Tian would definitely ask this question. She replied, the person who built that shelter was at the Yanqing base. Then I will naturally have a way to break through their defenses and go in. Xing Tian raised his eyebrows, thinking that this matter was very interesting. I'll have to think about it again, and I need the information you gave me about the shelter. Xiao Honglian nodded, this is no problem, you can think about it carefully, this is a huge benefit to your Qingpu base, you will never regret it. Xing Tian clicked on the information and glanced at it. Among the information, Zhang Yi's personal information is placed at the forefront. It wouldn't be so coincidental, would it? Even Jing Yixian's eyes widened, as if he couldn't believe what he heard. What were you talking about just now? Yuan Kongya asked in a cold voice. The Dafa decree raised his hands. My lord, I am loyal to you and to the snow worship cult. Please believe every word I say. In that mysterious sanctuary, there is a strong man with abilities comparable to yours. Maybe he is the right hand of the gods and can help you achieve great things. Yuan Kongya's eyes fluctuated violently. I see. Thank you for your hard work, Dafa. Go down and rest first. The nun slowly closed the door. Yuan Kongya looked at Jing Yixian, the situation has changed. Jing Yixian frowned, and said in a deep voice, it seems that everyone underestimated the strength of Zhang Yi and his team. If that's the case, even if we join hands to attack that shelter. Considering the inconvenience of long. Jing Yixian eyebrows stood upright like sharp swords, and his tone became a little more serious. However, if we can change the partner of cooperation and join forces with Zhang Yi to deal with other people, then the situation will be wonderful. A message popped up on Zhang Yi's phone. He turned on the phone and in the end, it turned out to be a friend who hadn't been in touch for many years. Xing Weinan. He's not dead yet. It seems that there are some tricks. Zhang Yi took a closer look and saw the message from Xing Weinan, old classmate, long time no see.
Hey there! This concludes the explanation up to the latest chapter release. Stay tuned for the next chapter breakdown as soon as it's available.